Well, hello friends, welcome back. It is event guide time for Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend.
3, 2, 1, go!
The Wine and Dine event guide was released yesterday, October 19th, and decided to go through it and give you a breakdown because there are some changes. I mean, a lot of it is familiar, things we're used to, but there are obviously some differences that we definitely need to go over. Just starting off on the home page of the event guide, we have our new runDisney president, Adam Ball, or I should say vice president, Adam Ball, welcoming us to this year's event. Farron Kelly has moved on to a new role. Wish him the best. He was pretty great for us runDisney fans. Outside of that, the title charity once again is Second Harvest Food Bank in Central Florida. They've been the title charity for at least a few years now. I think as long as I've been at least doing Wine and Dine, so there is that. But outside of that, let's dive right into the event guide. Start off by going to the weekend events tab, which is next. And as you can see, you'll have several tabs here you can choose from, starting with the Health and Fitness Expo, the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, post-race party, important information, and then some stuff on Second Harvest, and then our booths, our virtual booths that would have offers and stuff that are sponsors for the race weekend. One thing to note, as of right now, as of this, things can change. One of the big offers that people really enjoyed from last season that is not currently on here is the 50% off water park offer. That's not currently on here. I'm not sure if that will be offered during the weekend, but it used to be listed in the event guide, not currently listed there. So just something to note as of now. Again, could change. But let's dive into the Health and Fitness Expo here. As you can see, we have our information starting with day one. Expo opens up at 10 a.m. and closes at 7 p.m. Race transportation for the expo begins a half hour before the expo opens, and then will run a half hour after the expo closes. That is to all Walt Disney World Resort hotels, plus Swan Dolphin, Swan Reserve, and Shades of Green. So any of those hotels will have race transportation. Outside of that, if you have Club Run Disney and you have the early merchandise access on day one, you will need to get your own ride to the expo in order to get there. Run Disney does not provide transportation early to get there for those extra merchandise hours. So that is something to note. And then speaking of merchandise, one of the big things back this year is that Run Disney virtual queue for merchandise. That will only be in use on day one. We can jump right into that right here. Just some quick guidelines. Again, it's all similar to what it was last year. One kind of discrepancy, though, is on the email and stuff that Run Disney has sent participants. It said that the virtual queue entry would be at 7 or 8:30 a.m. Here in the guide, it says 7:30, which is something they did last year. They did 7:30, so I'm guessing the time did change to 8:30. They just have not updated the guide from last year and did a copy and paste, which they often do. So just something to note. I guess kind of maybe wait and see. But the stuff that they have sent out and the Walt Disney World website under virtual queues does say 8:30, but the virtual event guide says 7:30. So just something to note there. Otherwise, the process is the same. You go into My Disney Experience, you click virtual queues, add your party, and then when the time comes, hit that join queue, and you will be in. Outside of that, the expo is pretty standard from previous years. I'm not going to go too in depth here because not much has changed at the expo. Make sure you have your digital waiver signed in your runDisney account here. You will also, on October 30th, be getting your digital expo pass. In the instance that you are unable to sign your digital waiver due to technical issues, because that does happen. There's plenty of people who it doesn't allow them to sign their waiver, account issues, stuff like that. They will have paper waivers when you get there to sign. There will also be a booth inside the bib pickup area that is for like the tech issues, stuff like that they can happily help you out. Usually those issues are pretty easily resolved, so just don't panic. You will be fine once you get there. There's plenty of people to help you out. Outside of that, let's just go into the map real quick here. Standard setup A is where it is the Advent Health Arena. That is where your merch is. B is where the main expo is, t-shirt pickup as well in there. So this will be your vendors and your t-shirt pickup. C is where your bib pickup is. Just, to kind of give you a rundown of that. Inside the athletic center, this is where your vendors are. Like I said, a bunch of vendors, just to name a few. You've got Advent Health, BB Brook, Because Charms and Sunglasses, Boulder Athletic Wear, Flying Pig Marathon is going to be there, Cliff Bar, DVC, Flip Belt, Jeff Galloway, of course, he's always there, KT Tape, the runDisney Showcase, where usually they preview medals from coming races, so that's always a popular stop. Therabody, Shocks, pretty all the standard booths. And then at the back over here, you have your 5K, 10K shirt pickup and your half and challenge shirt pickup. So that is where you will go to get those. Outside of that, like I said, State Farm Fieldhouse is where your bib pickup will be, all on the one floor. Runner relations, account services, stuff like that, all pretty standard for a runDisney weekend. Okay, so moving on, I'll just run down the times for day 2 and 3. Day 2, Expo opens at noon, will be open till 7. Day 3, Expo opens up at 11, will be open until 3 p.m. So just keep that in mind for what day you're coming to the Expo. Moving on to the 5K. This is where we start to get into some changes. 5K start time is still at 5 a.m. That is standard, no change there. However, we are going to start with the 5K start group and opening and closing times. This is new. I've never seen runDisney do this before. Have a chart like this that gives you when the groups open and close. So for the 5K, all of the groups open at 3:45 a.m. For the 5K, there are only 4 corrals: A, B, C, and D. Now the difference here is they're going to have specific closing times. 4:45 a.m. is when A closes, 4:55 a.m. is when B closes, and 5:10 is when C closes. D will close when everybody's gone. So basically, if you miss any of those, you just jump into D, and you kind of got to deal with that. But this will change as the events go on. So 10K and half are different from this. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, this is something new, something they've never done before. All the races are starting in the Epcot parking lot this go around, whereas last year the half did start on the road, just outside Epcot there, much like the half and full marathons do for marathon weekend. But this year, all of the races are starting in the parking lot, so I think this kind of has something to do with it, in terms of congestion and making sure corrals get out and stuff like that. They do have some tabs on race etiquette and race reminders. I'm not going to go into that. If you are a newbie to runDisney, I would highly suggest just checking those over, seeing what you may be in for. Nothing crazy, just some things to remember while you're out on the course. Spectator viewing. Now, spectator viewing for 5K is pretty basic. The only places you can really spectate at the 5K is the start and finish. So not much else you can do there if you are a spectator. That will change a little bit as we go into 10K half days, but just for the 5K start and finish, we'll have spectating viewing. Transportation for this week, or for this race, you have this transportation will start at 3 a.m. For the 5K. And then that will be 3 to 5 a.m. will be for the start busing. At the finish line, when you're done with the race, bus transportation will start at 6:30 and go till 8:30. So if you are utilizing that transportation, be sure you're on a bus by 8:30. Usually, if you're there, they have cast members and volunteers and stuff walking around, making sure you're getting on that bus when it's time to get on that bus. There will be no monorail or Skyliner transportation for race weekend events. That goes for all 3 events, just to point that out. There is no monorail or Skyliner transportation to Run Disney events on this weekend. So then moving into the course itself. This is where we kind of see the changes, or I should say some of the changes. Like I said, actually, let me bounce back real quick because I'll start with the staging area because that will help us get a bearing on the course itself. But that busing, your bus drop-off will be at the normal Epcot bus drop-off. And then you will walk through the main entrance security like you would if you were going to Epcot for the day. They're going to walk all the way along here and then over past the finish and into the reunion areas where they'll hold people until groups are open. Then you can go into your groups. Now, one thing if you'd already noticed, the difference here is the finish. Normally, in past years, at least as long as I've been running Disney, and this will be my 10th year of running Disney, this lot right here is where we would finish. So the finish line would be like right here. You come through this little path here and finish there. This year, they moved the finish over to cast parking. This lot over here is cast parking behind Guardians of the Galaxy. And so they're kind of, looks like they're keeping us out of this lot completely, basically, which is interesting. But just note there is a different finish this year for Wine and Dine. We'll see if that stays intact for races later in the season. But as of right now, a new finish line for this area for this weekend. But like you can see here, the spectator viewing will be all along this part here towards the finish, so people can watch you finish as well as start. Start will be up here. Start groups here. Usually they have A, B, C, or usually A is on this side, and then it goes, down the road. And then they kind of bring you around to shoot, and you go through there, and you're off. And then this is where the reunion area, they'll have a food and beverage over here, usually characters up here with the stage, and then your transportation will be here at the end of the race. So that is your staging for this year's Wine and Dine. This will be the same for all 3 races. Now, let's get into the course here. This is kind of where we'll see a little bit of a change. So the start mostly is the same. We come out and go right around the parking lot and then back into Epcot. Nothing too crazy here. We'll come under test track like we have many times in Run Disney races. Where we kind of get to the differences when we get to over here. Go around World Showcase as normal. In past years, we've kind of come out behind Morocco and then run through France and then back around. And then other years, too, we've run out International Gateway or back around the Skyliner and back in and around. This year, we're just going straight around. There's no background over here. But we are doing what appears to be like a hairpin turn up in the front of World Showcase between the 2 shops here. Or just after the 2 shops, there will be like a hairpin turn that will take you right then through the center of Epcot. Then the finish is slightly different, it appears, too. Or I shouldn't say finished yet, because we're not quite finished yet. But instead of kind of just going right out past Mission Space and out, they've added time. We're going around Guardians, so basically around the entrance of Guardians, then past Mission Space and out. So they've kind of added the time up here instead of having us go back there like we used to. Why? I'm not exactly sure, but that's just what they're doing for now. And then this kind of finish here is just kind of all normal. We kind of come through here. And then, like I said, that finish, the actual finish line is in a new location. Before we'd finish up here, now we're finishing over here. So just some slight differences there. Overall, 5K is pretty standard. It's always just in Epcot. Always, kind of just around World Showcase kind of thing. So not too crazy there, except for that finish line change. Outside of that, the 5K tab, all the races have this on their tab, but you'll have your photo pass box here. This will have the codes in here if you look for each race. So even if you're doing a challenge, you still have to enter it in for each race. So 5K has a different code, 10K has a different code, and half has a different code for your race photos. Outside of that, that's kind of it for the 5K. We'll jump into the 10K now. And as you can see here, again, race starts at 5 a.m. No difference there. Now we get into the start and closing times for your corrals. All corrals, again, open at 3:45 for this race. There is A through E now, so one extra corral for 10K and half marathon day. Little change here on the start group close times. 4:40 a.m. for A, 4:50 a.m. for B, 4:10 a.m. for C, 4:20 for D, and then to clear out the line for E. So just keep mindful of what starting group you're in and getting into those corrals by that time. Again, race etiquette and reminders, spectator viewing. So there is a little bit more viewing you can do with the 10K than there is the 5K. Again, start and finish, of course, and then I'll show you when we get to the course some other spots you may be able to spectate. Your live results, there are no, because the 5K is on time, there are no official results for the 5K, but on the 10K tab you can check there, and that's where your official results will be posted. Transportation information, 3 to 5 a.m. for the start. Again, that's pretty standard. Then for post-race, 6:30 to 9 a.m. So you get an extra half hour longer race, but you get an extra half hour to kind of hang out post-race before you need to get on a bus and get back to your resort. Again, no monorail or Skyliner transportation. If you are driving, this is what they have a road closures tab, which is they usually send this out separately. It's usually not included in the event guide like this, so this is kind of nice that they show you a full map of road closures. If you are driving, just be mindful of this, especially for spectators, because they tend to come in different times and stuff. But now, again, start and staging, all the same for this race, but the course then, let's get into the course. For this race is pretty, almost exactly the same, except for some small minor things compared to last year's course. Start, you're going to come out, go down the road, first 2 miles, actually 3 miles, almost 4 miles, are all on the road. So first half essentially is kind of boring, but they'll have characters out and stuff like that. But just so you're aware, first few miles, not any park time in that. But once you get to Hollywood Studios, you can see this is where some of the minor changes is. Last year, we ran in and then out and down Hollywood Boulevard there. This time, we kind of just come in back by Rock and Roller Coaster, just by Tower Terror, and then go out to the Phantasmic exit back towards the front. So we'll completely skip the main road in Hollywood Studios, Hollywood Boulevard, and then go out and down the International Squeezeway, as lots of us like to call it, down towards the boardwalk. We will run across the boardwalk. Now, this is one of the spectating viewing areas you can do. Now, one thing to note about this viewing area is it's a quiet zone. They do not like people, being loud at this point, because it's obviously a resort and people are sleeping at 5 a.m. when we are running. So just be mindful of that. They're usually don't like people being loud on 10K day, at least, because it's still very early. Then we will enter towards International Gateway. We will go behind the Skyliner and enter in the back by World Showplace here, just between Canada and the UK. We come in and go up towards the center or entrance of World Showcase, out through the between connections and creations up here, come back around just towards Test Track, and then out back behind Guardians into that same finish line like the 5K. So not a ton different there when it comes to the 10K for Wine and Dine weekend. But that is the 10K course. Like I said, that's about it anything else you may need to go over is all in here for your reading pleasure. Moving on to the half marathon, the main event of the weekend. Here we have race start again at 5 a.m. Nothing different about that. That is normal. Now here is where things get a little different from the first two races in terms of start and closing time. So start groups do not all open at the same time on this race. Start group A will open up at 3:15. Start group B will open up at 3:15. C will open up at 3:30. D at 3:45, and E at 5 a.m. So this is really where it kind of gets hairy. My thought process here is they don't explicitly say this, is because half marathon is typically a larger event, so there's a lot more runners compared to the 5K and 10Ks, almost double usually. So my guess is E was going to use the space that either A or B or maybe both that are in, and in order to do that, they need to clear those corrals before they can enter people into those spots. So that is my guess is why E loads so late. It is definitely weird that is the case. They've never done this before like this, but given the start being in the Epcot parking lot rather than on the roadway, I think that is why they are doing that. Start groups closing, Group A at 4:40, Group B at 4:50, Group C at 5:05, Group D at 5:15, and then really no close date as long as once that start line is clear, they'll close the start and you can't start anymore. But that is make sure you make note of this if you are running the half. This is something different this year. So that's, we're all kind of in for something new. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if it continues onto other race weekends, especially marathon weekend, which would be quite odd because marathon weekend is usually the largest event of all of them, and it usually always started on the roadway. So if they did that there, it'd be quite a difference. Other than that, we'll get into transportation. Here, transportation starts at 2:30, so a half hour earlier than the other races, which is normal for half and full marathons that runDisney does. After the race, transportation from the finish will be 7 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. So you got a whole hour and a half extra compared to the 10K to hang out and be at the reunion area. Outside of that, again, you have your road closures tab here. Obviously, some more road closures because bigger course. So keep it, if you are driving, especially be mindful of that. Again, start staging, all the same. Now we get into the course. So the course itself, the first half of it, or not really half of it, less than half, first 4 or 5 miles of it is mostly the same. Not much has changed. You're going to start, and you're going to, well, I should preface that because it is different. We used to come out at the start and go all the way down here before we turned back and came around. Now it's a little bit quicker turnaround. So we're going to start here, turn around, and go back into Epcot, backstage, but under test track, in behind Mexico, around World Showcase, the entirety of World Showcase, then out through behind the Skyliner Station, past International Gateway, down around the boardwalk. Now this would be a spectator spot again. Again, it's early at this point in the race, so they typically will want you to be quiet at that point. Then we're going to take International Squeezeway again. This, of course, is earlier in the race versus the 10K where it's later in the race. And you're going to come down and through into Hollywood Studios. Now, this time in Hollywood Studios, we have we basically go through the whole park. You're going to come in, go around past Indiana Jones, up past Star Tours, down through Grand Avenue, into Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, then into Toy Story Land, back out past the Disney Junior area, then out towards the front, towards not Great Movie, my Minnie's Runaway Railway, then down Sunset Boulevard, out past Tower of Terror, and then it will go back on the roadway. Now this is again where things get different again. last year, to lots of people's disappointment, or I should say, I don't know if it was disappointment, more it certainly wasn't a popular a portion of the course. But last year we came down here and then went all the way down here and then did a turnaround right there and went all the way back. So it was a very long out and back that nobody liked. It was rough. This year we're coming out and we're going straight across towards Coronado Springs. Now this is a portion of road we usually only see during the marathon, the full marathon, during marathon weekend. So mile 6 will be just across from Coronado Springs. Then we are going to go past Blizzard Beach again. Again, something we only do usually during the marathon. Mile 7 will be right next to Blizzard Beach. We'll come back around, go up mile 8, up that road, and then mile 9, 10, 11, all on road. So this stretch could be very boring, which it usually is. It's not exciting, let me tell you. From experience running those roads for long stretches of time. But again, they'll have characters out, kind of help break up the things. But again, it's just not a very exciting portion of the course. Truth be told, I really wish they would go back to the pre-COVID Animal Kingdom course. But such is life. Anyways, we'll come back in through the parking lot, through the bus stop at Epcot, back behind Living with the Land towards the Imagination Pavilion, enter back into Epcot. We'll come right around past, just up towards World Showcase, do a turn, and then back out through by Connections Creations behind Guardians, and then to that finish again. So the park portions of this course are very much the same. Nothing really too much different there. It's that road time that they've kind of changed up. It's this area is a prime place where people could course cut. So they take that away essentially. I don't without completely redoing the course, not a whole lot else you can really do to this course. So it kind of is what it is. We'll see how much people either like or dislike this the change instead of the out and back going around past Coronado and Blizzard Beach. But that is your half marathon. A couple of things to note. Usually during the marathon, people are out by Coronado Springs spectating, cheering. I would assume that's something that can happen again. Again, this is a little earlier in the day. I don't know, how they're going to police that. And then usually when we come back in towards the finish, people are usually lined up in the bus stop area here, spectating and cheering. That's usually, fair game because you're parked over here and you can just walk to the finish anyway. So a bunch of people usually hang out and cheer there. Inside the park usually you can't cheer inside Epcot towards the finish because usually most people are coming through before the park opens. I believe the park opens at 9 a.m. Most people should be off the course by 9 a.m. So just something to note, you usually can't do in-park spectating for this weekend. But otherwise, that is the half course. And yeah, so there's the one a major difference between this weekend and most of the other weekends. We'll get into springtime when we get to springtime later this year, but the post-race party for Wine and Dine is an exclusive thing for this weekend, something that you don't have at the other weekends. So on Sunday night, you will have the post-race party is at 10 to 1 a.m. Now, if you have a post-race party ticket, so that means if you're running the half, or if you are running the challenge, that is included in your race registration. If you are not running, or you are running the 5K only or 10K only, and they did sell those tickets separately, those are sold out. Now there are a bunch of people selling them secondhand or giving them away. I don't know, lots of people do different things with them. Just to note, but they're in the Facebook groups and stuff. So do keep note of that. If you are looking for a ticket, check those places. I've seen tons of them this past week. The tickets do get mailed out to you. There will be a plastic like Walt Disney World ticket card. You can upload or enter that into your My Disney Experience account, so then you can use a Magic Band or something to scan in instead of using the card. But that's just something to note. So like I said, your entry, you can get into Epcot as early as 5 p.m. with that ticket. Outside of that, then if you say you're already in Epcot, there's going to be a couple places you can get your wristband for the party, because you will need a wristband for attendance. There will be points in the night where they check to make sure you have that wristband. If you're already inside, there will be a spot between Connections and Creations, kind of underneath that overhang. There will be a spot there, and then there will be a spot by World Showplace if you're in the park. If you're not in the park, they will have wristbands available at International Gateway, and they will have them available at the entrance to Epcot at the front. Attractions that are going to be open are Test Track Soarin', Journey into Imagination, A Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. As far as I know, they have not said they will be utilizing a virtual queue for this event, so that will be a standby line, so just to keep that in mind. Now, this isn't it's not full capacity compared to a normal park day, but it is also not, like only 100 people. So keep it in mind, there's going to be a lot of people there, so you're going to still have wait times for these attractions. There's also usually a ton of different meet and greets that they bring out. We won't really know that until day of, or just before. They usually have a kind of a flyer or pamphlet map that they'll give you. That explains all of that, who's going to be out and stuff like that. There will be a special Wine and Dine after party drink that will be available, and then there will also be a special half marathon weekend pin that will be available for purchase at Creations beginning at 8 o'clock. So if you're into pins, that's something you can look forward to. All of the food and wine global marketplaces will be open as well. And then those who are running the half or challenge also get a $15 gift card included in that registration that they are encouraged to use at those food booths. Outside of that, transportation is probably the other big thing. There will be no monorail or Skyliner post transportation, though those will run during normal park hours. But once those hours are done, that is over. They will keep running buses though, so don't worry if you need to get back to your resort. Buses will run till 2:30. Like I said, the event though runs till 1 a.m. So if you have plenty of time to kind of measle your way out at the end to get on a bus. But that's kind of it for the after party. Going back to our weekend events tab. There's another important information tab. This is kind of just overall, reminders, stuff like that. This is where you can find more information about your waivers and check-in pass, costume guidelines, which have changed a bit. Just be mindful of that. We don't really know a whole lot what to expect, I guess. Obviously, we have the guidelines, but we're not sure just how strict they will be on those guidelines. So it's another thing to keep in mind. They have a full start group opening and closing tab here that features all of the races in one spot. Your flag guidelines in case weather is a major issue. There's a medical tab, another weather tab, photo pass again, post-race information, and then just some other information that's there if you need it. Nothing too important, I should say. Then the only other tab up here is your digital expo tab. That's kind of the same thing we were looking at before, was where you're going to have all your flyer, your promos. Maybe there's discounts and stuff. I went through them. There's really not a whole lot in terms of discounts or stuff. It's just kind of advertisements from sponsors and stuff like that. So just if you want to check those things out, these are the major sponsors of the weekend. But yeah, that is the 2023 Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend Event Guide. Be sure if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be happy to help as much as I can. Obviously, some things may be better directed towards Run Disney than myself, but otherwise, that is going to do it for this year's event guide breakdown. We will see you at Wine and Dine.